Howdy, howdy, everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome back to my little digital slice of the grand land of Olean. I'm JC and I do magic just for you. Yep, just for you. Now, today we're going to be continuing our read aloud of Maximum Entertainment 2.0. We've only got a couple of chapters left. Now, of course, before we jump into that, we're going to do a card trick for you. So go ahead and skip ahead if you want to get right into the reading, or you can stay and enjoy this magic that's just for you. Here we go. We're going to start off by having a card selected. Today that card is going to be the King of Diamonds. It's okay if I've seen this trick before. You gotta do the magic in order for it to jump right to the top. Oh, wait a second, that's the Eight of Hearts. I keep forgetting. The Eight of Hearts is on top. The King of Diamonds is in the middle. Yeah, in the middle. Ha-cha. This time you'll see it jump to the top almost by magic. Just like this. Whoa! See, it jumped right to the top. Now, we will place it into the center. You gotta make the noise or it doesn't work. And then we can find your card just by riffling through the cards. You can't quite see it, but it's right there. It's actually jumped back out of the center. I know from that far away it looks suspicious. That's because it is. But it is still the King of Diamonds. Jolly good, jolly good. Okay, let me know down below what you thought about that, and let me know what you think could be different about that, and just let you know that's something that you could just mess around with. Just have fun with your cards and come up with different ideas. So, let's jump into it here. Where are we at? Closing the show, we just read that one. Postscript, additional information appended to a manuscript. Chapter 22, after the show. The spin cycle. Invariably, when I happen to be present at a function for which a professional walk-around magician or mentalist has been hired, friends or relative ask me, is this guy as good as we think? My internal voice answers, well, you just saw him. What do you think? But my socially acceptable voice says, sure, he's excellent. They walk away feeling vindicated that their impressions were correct. Please don't underestimate the power of spin. After every political debate, the spin doctors rush into the airwaves to tell us what we really saw and heard, and sometimes their messages can have more impact than that of the spinnee. Similarly, after each of your performances, people approach you. They want to talk about you and what they just witnessed. Inside the privacy of your head, you may be thinking that a couple of bits didn't kill nearly as well as they usually do. I'm laughing because I just automatically went into the if you watch Forged in Fire, Doug Markita, he always says, this weapon will kill. I can't do his accent, but I just automatically, just because it's air quoted and everything. But that's the power of references, right? That's the power of media and the things that we do, that it just seeps in. I've done it throughout the book too, where I will pronounce things a certain way because that is how I've heard it pronounced before. And so it's just a nice little fun thing to put in there, is that it still sticks with me. So just think about those things too as you go through the things that you're doing. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Like there's drawing a blank. I watch them all the time. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. I drawing a blank on his name at the moment. I can see his face though, because he's everybody in his skits and stuff. But I use that phrase, super easy, barely an inconvenience. Now, I would use that in my daily life, but I probably wouldn't use that in my show because that's his thing. And so I try to stay away from using other people's catchphrases outside of the professional space, because I want to use my catchphrases like howdy howdy, stay positive, stay active, and stay awesome, or that's fantastic, or funtastic rather. So just keep those things in mind as you go along. And also exclamation point, which we haven't seen one yet this chapter. So let's go ahead and continue. And you might want to tell them so. Or maybe because of your innate humility, you want to downplay that you are a god look in their eyes. So basically, what it's saying here is that uh, so basically, you watch the show and you kind of didn't feel the same vibe. And instead of saying, hey, I think you could probably work on that, you instantly want to be like, no, it was great. But instead, it wasn't as good as maybe it usually is. So, let them know that. Don't intentionally try to hurt somebody's feelings because you are jaded about it, because you want to be a good critic and not a bad critic. That's why we only listen to 3-star reviews. We don't go for 5-star reviews, and don't go for 1-star reviews. You want the middle of the road 3-star reviews. Don't allow each spectator to brew his or her own exalted recollection of your performance. Help it along. Spin their memories toward the highlights that worked especially strongly. If they happen to have caught you on an off night, you gain nothing by telling anyone, thanks, but most nights it's even better! Exclamation point! There it is. I used to say something like that frequently, and stupidly. Gil Eagles straightened me out. So now what he's saying is this. Because we're talking about after the show, spinning it. This is after the performance, because in reality, there's no end to the performance. You're still the magician, even if you're not on stage. So if somebody says, hey, I feel like you weren't as good as you normally are, you say, no, it was fantastic. That's you don't want to ever make it seem like it's any better or worse than it was the night before. What you could say, potentially, and I don't know if he'll get into this, is you could say, we had an exquisite night tonight that is unlike any other night that you will see. If you come back tomorrow, or if you were here yesterday, you will see a completely different show, because every night is unique to the audience and to the elements that be. But each show is as good as it possibly can be in the moment. And so now you've elevated it to not saying that it was better or worse, but you're saying that it's going to be different every time because of the energy that's in the room. Not blaming them, not blaming yourself, but things happen. And you really are just like, I'm capitalizing on the moment. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. I don't know. Let me know down below. Your spectators' final encounters with you may well be the moments they remember the longest. Buff those memories up to the brightest possible sheen. Here are a few techniques. When they recall a moment that they clearly enjoyed, help them mentally replay the best parts. Remember when Susan saw that she was holding the $5 bill? She shrieked! Exclamation point. Don't tell them you see that reaction 90% of the time. Play off their comments with remarks about how you were blown away by someone's reaction. Did you see the look on Fred's face when he let them think they were privileged to be present at a singularly riotous or special performance, one that impressed even you, the seasoned performer? Look for opportunities to praise the volunteers. Wasn't it just fantastic the way Chloe, if possible, relate what they saw to a prestigious situation? When I did that for the mayor, he dropped his drink! Exclamation point. The entertainment process begins before you walk on stage and continues for as long as anyone thinks or talks about you. Your show, your performance, encompasses every moment in which you have contact with an audience member. From the time you arrive on the scene until your final exit out the door, you are on. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of public opinion, and you have no lawyer to intervene on your behalf. Projecting the best image is your sole responsibility. Perception is reality. This is true in much of life, and especially it has politics crossed out entertainment, where facts mean little and emotions rule. Before, during, and after your show, encourage the perception that you are good. Yes, you are kind of a Superman or Wonder Woman. Do it gently, subtly, and graciously, but do it. As a side note, after this paragraph, because then we start a new section here, I'll go on a side note here. If the situation arises, and if you are totally comfortable and confident in your material, performing informally after your show extends and enhances the entertainment experience. If executed expertly, it's a strong and wise professional tactic. Your host will feel that you've exceeded their highest expectations, and their opinions of you will grow even brighter. Just be sure, absolutely certain, that you leave them wanting more. You can erase hours of goodwill by overstaying your welcome just a few minutes. Yeah, I think that's actually a good note there, because you're still Superman even when you're not on stage, but your persona, you're still conveying your humanity because you're sticking around to have that conversation. Now, the point that I wanted to make is this: I have found it increasingly fascinating over the years that WWE wrestling, the worldwide World Wrestling Entertainment, previously the World Wrestling Federation, but they had to change it because WWF was already trademarked by the Worldwide World Wildlife Foundation or something like that. Anyway, they had to change it, but all of that in conjunction of the marketing and everything. When we were younger, the story was the story. Like there's like some solid belief that, like, hey, this is real, really happening, and that's what they wanted to convey. But knowing that it's all just an act and it's all just a story. Not to say that the wrestling is fake, but the matches are scripted to some degree, and in some cases they're scripted to the point where, like, they know basically what's going to happen, but there is still some wiggle room in there for those exhibition matches, which was real interesting. Sometimes, if it doesn't matter who wins and loses, they might just play around. They're just like, hey, you're going to hit me with this, you're going to hit me with that, I'm going to hit you with this, then we're going to do this and that. And then they kind of just choreograph it because they're expert professional athletics. They're It's what they do for a job. That's what they do. So getting hurt isn't really the objective here, but for the entertainment value, they did. But the point that I want to make here is this: the exposure that we've been getting just in the last couple of years from this, with the TV specials, the documentaries, the retired wrestlers that we grew up with, who are now like in the spotlight and talking about things and doing interviews, is absolutely phenomenal to see the background of that. Especially when, I can't remember his exact name, but it was in the, I think it was Netflix, but it was in the TV show series for each episode dealt with a different wrestler. There was one where the guy basically would be home and his wife was like, this is my husband. And then as soon as they got in the car, drove down the road, and she would get to the airport, as soon as he stepped out of the car, she's like, he stopped being my husband and he became that wrestler. Every single time they were in public, that was who they were, their persona, automatically. And that's who they had to be every single time they were in the public. So the amount of stress and the amount of just overbearing anxiety that would come with that, especially the high intensity, because some of those, obviously, all of them are high energy for the purposes of entertainment. But some of those characters were very, very high energy, like even in a maybe off the deep end, right? They had to basically come out red faced, veins popping. That's who they were every single time. But just imagine the mindset you get into if they call it the heel. If you're the bad guy, imagine the mindset you have to be into if you have to become the heel every time you leave your house. That's why it'd be so difficult to separate work and home life, because you're basically contractually obligated, making millions of dollars, to be that person when you're not at home. That's why it's so fascinating from a psychological standpoint, because the world, there was a huge, and even now, there's still a big portion of the world, but then especially, there was so much hype and so much storytelling involved that we believed some of the stuff that they were talking about. And that's how good their marketing and their execution was. It was fun, and now we're getting to see the behind the scenes, and we all love that. The post-mortem. I'm about to give you one of the most important suggestions in this book, an insight into the entertainment business that served me well over the years. After a show, drive home in silence. No music, news, or podcast. That one simple step, repeated consistently, will yield more dividends to your success than pounds of magic books or hours of video downloads. Instead of listening to depressing news or someone else's music, think about your show. Make a concentrated effort to mentally replay as much of your time on stage as possible. What worked? What didn't? Did you come up with a clever ad-lib that could be used in the future? This stuff is gold! To let it evaporate into the ether is a sin and a waste. which leads to a second suggestion. Your phone has a voice recorder feature. Use it. As you go over your show in your mind, record your impressions. A day or two later, when you have a chance to listen to the recording, I guarantee some of what you recorded will be incomprehensible or just abbreviated, that you have no idea what brilliant message you tried to give yourself. That's okay. In the hour or two immediately following your show, your adrenaline is still pumping. Your senses are at full alert, and your understanding of what happened on stage is at its most focused and fresh. Some of these self directed notes will sound brilliant a week later, some won't. Either way, don't waste these opportunities to examine and reflect. A personal entertainment highlight. Derren Brown. Lior Suchard. Suchard? I don't know. I'm not sure how to pronounce names, but it sounds good to me. Two performers, each at the top of the showbiz mountain. Derren is a household name throughout the United Kingdom and beyond. Lior Suchard appears at high-level events around the world and has built an impressive resume here in the U.S., including multiple Tonight Show appearances and touring with, of all people, Barbara Streisand! Exclamation point! Seeing each of them live in front of large audiences impressed me mightily. Both are mentalists, yet their shows are remarkably different, and each performer reflects his culture. Englishman Derren Brown presents a refined, carefully structured show. There are surprises, but we always know they are surprises that Derren made happen. In Lior Suchard's shows, as with most Israelis, informality rules. He gives us the impression that he has some idea where he's going. But today, maybe he'll go this way, or maybe not. That other way might be better. Whatever it works. Derren Brown. As a New Yorker, I've been able to see an enormous number of shows, big and small. I can recall many shows that were thoroughly entertaining and deeply satisfying. Rarely, however, do moments within shows stay with me for years. Here are three such moments. A full standing ovation during a Broadway show. I saw that happen only once. Brian Stokes Mitchell in Man of La Mancha literally stopped the show singing The Impossible Dream. The climactic blackout scene in the thriller A Shot in the Dark. Derren Brown in London's West End presenting Something Wicked That This Way Comes, The Walk on Glass. I've seen that stunt performed many times. It's typically a high energy, few moments, although sometimes it is presented dramatically. Derren goes for the drama that took it to an unprecedented level. First, he sits quietly with a plastic bag on his head. Yes, a plastic bag. The entire audience sat transfixed, motionless, barely allowing themselves to breathe as a nurse from the audience holding a drumstick taps out his pulse onto a microphone. Suddenly, she's standing there with the drumstick posed over the microphone. Derren is slumped in his chair. His pulse has stopped! Exclamation point. He held that tableau for several long seconds. Then he removed the bag, stood up, and wheezily walked barefoot down a length of shattered glass bottles. Still, a completely silent theater. When he reached the other end, he stopped and picked glass shards from his right foot, then his left. He did more, which I won't disclose here. At the end, he turned to us in the audience, gave the slightest nod of the head, and the theater erupted with approval. Unlike just about any artificial theatrical moment, here the tension was palpable. I loved it. I love most of Derren's theater work. So did the sold-out West End audience. Derren Brown, working with his frequent collaborator, Andy Newman, and other trusted people, repeatedly elevates mentalism into new theatrical realms. I am happily and continually astonished by the originality of his presentations and his flawless execution of mentalism techniques. Lior Suchard. Lior had been a friend for several years before I had a chance to see him perform live. It was January 2018. The venue was New York's The Town Hall Theater, and all 1,500 seats were filled. More than an hour had passed when I realized that he had complete control of the entire audience, despite his seemingly haphazard manner Everything, in fact, had a reason. I came across an online comment about Lior that fits perfectly. I loved how happy Lior is, like a cute little fox, always smiling, always beguiling. True. Every person in the audience felt a connection to the ebullient, energetic man performing miracles on the stage. Jerry Seinfeld and his family were in the second row. I was there backstage when Jerry greeted Lior and raved enthusiastically for several minutes straight about how much he and his whole family loved the show. High praise indeed, and fully deserved. Wowzers, that's a lot to take in there. We've talked about Derren Brown before. I'm not familiar with Lior. Derren Brown, though, we've talked about many books and many encounters, many videos that we've seen. He's the guy that we talked about when we said his show was so good that people actually believed that they were still under the effects of his show after the show and asked him to release them. Like, that's the other end of the spectrum good, right? That's not the bottom end, which is like, I just didn't feel in the vibe at all. No, they're coming up to him after the show and they're like, I feel it in here. You know what I'm saying? I feel it. Like something has manifested itself. I need you to release it. Like, that's powerful when you have that effect over somebody else. Notwithstanding your beliefs and anything else, even if you do believe in anything else, that should be proof of the fact of the power that this man has over the brain and psyche. So, we are on chapter 23, which we will get into tomorrow, and just doing our little peek. Look ahead. Chapter 23, chapter 24, and then chapter 25 are all pretty short chapters, only a couple of pages apiece, and no more personal highlights. We just got 3 chapters left. This is going to be a lot of fun as we finish this out, and then we can start our new series, which will be evaluating and reviewing different magical acts as well as my own to try to improve and get better overall. So, absolutely fantastic time. Thank you guys for joining me. We're getting towards the end here, so we have bigger and better ideas as we move forward. Thank you, everybody, and remember, always remember, stay positive, stay active, and stay awesome. And don't forget to subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And don't forget to click the video that's just for you. Yep, just for you. Ta-da! Where's the button?